3 minutes ago, Peter Welch stood up in the Senate. He was sitting across from Attorney General Pam Bondi, and before Welch began to speak, he made an interesting statement. I've noticed that when your colleagues corner you, you bring up something from their past. I'm waiting for my turn too, but you don't need to do that now. The salon laughed. Welch didn't laugh. Vermont senator, former prosecutor. This man knows how to ask questions well. He worked in the courts for years. He recognizes people's evasive answers. And he wasn't quite used to Bondi's condescending attitude. Welch's opening sentence was not random. He had watched what Bondi did in previous interrogations. When a senator asked a difficult question, Bondi would dig into that senator's past. Distraction tactic. And Welch ruled that out from the very beginning. What happened in the next 10 minutes? The issue of health insurance was put on the table. Voting rights were questioned. The dirtest Dava excuse has been tested, and a $50,000 scandal came to light. Welch opened his first question with health insurance. Federal employees are not getting paid due to the government shutdown. I agree with this, but that's not the whole story. There's an issue here that will affect Americans. Both those who voted for the president and those who voted for Vice President Harris will be affected. He took a letter out of his pocket. A family from Vermont wrote, a 5-person nuclear family. The parents are 54 and 55 years old. There are 3 children. One of the children has acute myeloid leukemia. November 1st is a critical date, Welch said. Everyone will receive premium increase notices on that date. If we don't solve this problem, this family's insurance premiums will triple. They will reach a figure they cannot afford. He returned to Bondi. The same threat applies to families in Florida as well, for families in Vermont as well. I hope you share this concern and that we can solve it together. Bondi's response was, I would be happy to speak with that family, because there are many nonprofit organizations that help children with terminal illnesses. I'm working with some people in Florida. Wait a second. Welch is talking about a systemic health crisis, an insurance issue affecting millions of Americans. Everyone receiving assistance under the Affordable Care Act is at risk. What does the Attorney General say? They should apply to charities? Do you think this is an answer? The child has leukemia. They are unable to pay the family premium. And the country's Attorney General says there are aid organizations. It proposes charity instead of government policy. But Bondi's next sentence was even more interesting. When it comes to healthcare, the government has shut down. As I understand it, perhaps you are not one of them, but many Democrats want health insurance for illegal immigrants. This is what shut down the government. Now let's think for a second. What did Welch ask? He talked about the insurance premiums of the family of a child with leukemia. He gave the date as November 1st. He told a concrete family story. What did Bondi answer? Democrats want insurance for immigrants. Can you see a connection between these two sentences? I can't see. Bondi sidestepped the question and turned it into a political accusation. A child with leukemia was mentioned, and the response was about immigrants. Welch maintained his composure. He cut Bondi off. Let me clarify this, he said. If this health support is lost, families in red and blue states will suffer. There are also people in Vermont who vote for the president. Their health is also at risk. The November 1st deadline is approaching. It's not just that Democrats don't want to negotiate. We want to negotiate. We expect the president to encourage our Republican colleagues to sit down and talk. Working together, we can find a solution that benefits the people in Florida who you care about and who voted for the president. In Vermont, I care about people, some of whom voted for Vice President Harris and some for the president. Bondi couldn't say anything. He told a child with leukemia to go to a charity. What could he say now? Do you think this is an acceptable approach? Is this how an attorney general should answer a question about a health crisis? I'm curious about your thoughts in the comments. You can subscribe for more videos like this. Your support is very important to us. Let's continue. Welch moved on to the second topic, the issue of voting rights. Regarding respect for voting rights, we received the letter your boss sent us in Vermont. A letter requesting all information in the OI file. And in the announcement of this letter, your supervisor expressed a concern. He spoke of the left side of the voting process being taken over. He fixed his eyes on Bondi. Now I'm asking, do you have any information about Vermont, specifically regarding the claim that the voting process has been taken over by the left side? Bondi's answer was to escape. I didn't quite understand what you said. We are currently involved in voter registration cases in 6 states. Is this what you're talking about? No, I'm talking about the letter requesting all the voting file information, including personal information. And when this letter was sent, your boss made a claim. He said the voting process was hijacked from the left side. These letters also came to Vermont. My question is, what do you mean by left? And do you have any evidence that the system has been taken over by the left? We must hold fair and free elections, I know this. But I'm asking a specific basic question. We will hold fair and free elections in this country. Welch asked 3 times. Bondi repeated the same general sentence 3 times. Fair and free elections. Concrete evidence? No. A specific foundation? No. Just general talk. Welch touched on a critical point here, regarding the limits of prosecutorial authority. You are the prosecutor. You have the authority to initiate an investigation. You have the power to decide whether to sue a state or an individual. This is an incredible authority, and I know you took this responsibility seriously when you were a prosecutor in Florida. As county prosecutor and as Florida Attorney General, you took seriously the fact that you needed to have a factual basis before proceeding, isn't it? Bondi shook his head. I take this role very seriously. I take my oath very seriously. Okay, I also take fair and free elections very seriously. We all get it, and our office is entitled to that information. Then I'm asking, what is the factual basis that justifies your request for all this confidential voter information from Vermont? Bondi's answer was interesting. The information will remain confidential in our office. And you just said you have a Republican governor, so what you're saying doesn't make sense. We wanted this from every state. What evidence do you have? He asked. Bondi said, you have a Republican governor. What kind of answer is this? I know you wanted it from every state. I'm asking for the factual basis regarding Vermont. No answer. There's no foundation. Bondi's chief of voting rights claims a left takeover, but Vermont has a Republican governor. The former Republican governor was the Treasury Secretary for years. He had also served as state secretary along with his election responsibilities. Where is Seoul then? Where's the evidence? Are Vermont's Republican leaders left-wing? Do you think an attorney general can send such requests to states without evidence? What should be the limit of this authority? Welch asked the right question, but didn't get an answer. But Welch's real trap hadn't been set yet. The issue of dirtest dava. You stated that you cannot discuss the case at hand, and the committee generally accepted this answer. But I noticed that you talked about the ongoing case for a long time, especially regarding the questions from Senator Cruz. When asked by Kavanaugh about the sentencing of the defendant, he is a punishment. He received an 8-year sentence. I understand, but you're going to appeal, aren't you? We will appeal, yes. So, isn't this a pending case? This was the important moment. Bond was caught by his own rules. He had given Cruz a detailed answer to his question. He had recounted all the horrific details of the threats made against Kavanaugh and the other justices. He said what they were threatened with. But what about the questions from the other senators? The case is ongoing. I cannot comment. Is this the same standard? Special treatment for Cruz? Closed doors for everyone else? Bondi went on the defensive. No, I didn't answer Cruz's question. Wait, I haven't answered any questions about the ongoing case you mentioned. These were the facts that emerged during the sentencing hearing. You can see the disciplinary records, with all its terrible details. What they threatened to do to Judge Kavanaugh and the other justices. I condemn what that person did, but this was a punishment. The thing is, this case is ongoing. You said you would appeal. This is your right. And you used the pending case as a reason to reject the other questions. Welch had caught Bondi on his own terms. Either all cases are pending, or none are. You can't choose both. You can't give a detailed answer to one senator and brush off the others. Do you think this double standard is acceptable? Can an attorney general provide detailed answers to some senators while dismissing others with pending case? Is this justice? And then Welch came to the final topic, the $50,000 issue. He wanted to go back to Homan. I want to return to the Homan issue. You know there's a recording. It's about Bay Homan. So, first of all, is there an audio and video recording of the $50,000 transfer? Bondi escaped. You need to speak to Director Patel about this. No, I'm asking you. Don't you know the answer yet? I don't know the answer. You know the answer. Don't call me a liar. Bondi's tone changed. I didn't call you a liar. You said you knew the answer. I said I don't know. So what you're saying is that I need to talk to Director Patel. What I'm saying is that the investigation was resolved before I took office as Attorney General. Welch continued. If you don't know, why don't you know? Is there a record? Senator, I believe this was resolved before I took office, so I don't know. It wasn't solved. Isn't it in the public interest for the people to know what happened to the $50,000? The $50,000 the FBI handed over to Homan. Did you hear what I just said? It was resolved before I started my job. It wasn't solved. There are $50,000 at Homan's or someone else's. Wouldn't you like to know where it is? Bondi's answer was unexpected. You're not going to sit here and trash Tom Homan. The FBI and Vice President Blanche said there were no problems. I'm not disparaging Tom Homan. He got $50,000. Homan is doing a great job with border security. How do you know he took it? Tom Homan is doing a great job keeping our borders safe. You are a border province. Pay attention to what happened. Welch asked for $50,000. Bondi said, Homan is doing a great job. He didn't answer the question about where the money is. He didn't answer the question of who took it. He didn't answer the question about whether there was a record. He only praised Homan and closed the topic. He avoided the $50,000 question by skipping border security. $50,000 is not a small amount of money, a sum transferred by the FBI, and the Attorney General says, I don't know, or he doesn't want to know. Which do you think is more concerning? What did we learn from this 10-minute inquiry? Bondi's stance on the health issue became clear. The family of the child with leukemia is unable to pay the premium. November 1st is approaching. The Attorney General's recommendation? Go to a charity. An individual philanthropic solution to a systemic problem affecting millions of Americans. There's a fundamental lack of voting rights. There are claims that he was captured on his left side, but there is no evidence. Vermont has a Republican governor. There are former Republican officials. What is the claim based on? Bondi couldn't answer. The standard for the pending case is inconsistent. A detailed response to Cruz and to the others. I can't answer. He told Cruz everything about a case that was being appealed, but he said pending to the other questions. $50,000 is missing, or at least he doesn't know where Bondi is, or he's not saying. It says solved, but there's no answer to the question of where the money is. Remember what Welch said at the beginning of his speech? When my colleagues corner you, you bring up something from their past. This sentence actually summarized what Bondi was wearing. When a difficult question comes up, counterattack, distract, change the subject. I got a health question. Democrats want insurance for immigrants, he said. It jumped from the child with leukemia to the immigrants. The question of voting rights came up. We will hold fair and free elections, he said. General slogans instead of concrete evidence. The $50,000 question came up. Don't criticize Homan. He's doing a great job, he said. He jumped from money to border security. 3 different questions, 3 different escape methods. There's no concrete answer in any of them. Meanwhile, a family from Vermont is still waiting. November 1st is approaching. Premiums will triple. Their children have leukemia. Treatment is expensive. Insurance is critical. And what did the United States Attorney General say? Go to a charity. Do you think it's important for this kind of questioning to continue? Should senators be asking these questions? Or is it a waste of time? Did Bondi's answers to Welch's questions satisfy you? Share your thoughts in the comments.